The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Concordat had never witnessed such chaos in its 12,000 cycles of existence. The usually pristine crystalline walls, designed to reflect the serene thoughts of its occupants, now pulsed with waves of panic from the assembled representatives of the galaxy's most powerful species. High Councillor Zyxar's tentacles twitched in barely contained rage as another projection of human military advancement appeared above the central dais. His chromatophores flashed warning patterns of deep purple and crimson, a clear sign to the other council members that their leader was about to lose his legendary composure. "How," he boomed, his translator struggling to convey the full depth of his frustration, "did we allow these primitives to expand across 3 sectors in less than 2 orbital cycles?" The Vrax representative, a being composed primarily of crystalline structures that humans would later compare to a chandelier having an existential crisis, chimed anxiously. "They're not following any of the established expansion protocols. They're just going wherever they want." "Like savages," hissed Representative Guthrie of the Serpentine Collective, her scaled hood flaring with distress. "They don't even file the proper paperwork for their colonies." Around the chamber, representatives of 36 spacefaring civilizations muttered, buzzed, and vibrated their agreement. The hive mind of Betalox sent waves of disapproval through their quantum link. The gas giant consciousness of Jupiter's children burped methane bubbles of protest. Zyxar raised 4 of his 8 tentacles, demanding silence. The chamber's acoustics, perfectly tuned to amplify the subtle harmonic frequencies of civilized discourse, instead carried the sound of someone who clearly wished they had hands suitable for table banging. "Need I remind the Council," he said, his bioluminescent spots pulsing with each word, "that this is the same species that responded to our standard surrender demand by sending back a visual recording of their planetary leader consuming what they call a hot dog while their response played in background music." The memory caused several council members to emit various signs of distress. The crystalline representative nearly shattered from embarrassment. The Methane Collective released a particularly noxious bubble of shame. "We must act decisively," continued Zyxar, displaying what humans would later describe as the smuggest tentacle arrangement possible. His skin rippled with patterns that indicated absolute certainty in his own superiority, a trait that would soon prove problematic. "These humans clearly don't understand their place in the grand cosmic hierarchy." From her corner of the chamber, Representative Nixtic of the Silicon Synthesis watched silently, her quantum processors calculating the probability that the Council was about to make a catastrophic mistake. The humans had done something no other species had dared in the history of the Concordat. They had laughed at the surrender demand, not rejected it, not fought it. They had found it funny. As she observed Zyxar pontificating about proper protocol and cosmic order, Nixtic's processors reached a conclusion. The Council had mistaken humanity's laughter for ignorance. In her extensive database of cosmic history, such mistakes typically preceded extinction-level events for those who made them. But like a good council member, she said nothing. After all, proper protocol must be observed. 3 orbital cycles earlier, humanity had been blissfully unaware of their precarious position in the galaxy. That changed when they detected the first quantum signature of a cloaked observation post at the edge of their solar system. The post belonged to the Vrax, who had been so convinced of their superior cloaking technology that they'd stationed an entire research team to study these fascinating primitives who still used combustion engines in some of their ground vehicles. The Vrax's first mistake was assuming that humanity's public space technology reflected their actual capabilities. Their second mistake was panicking when their observation post was not only detected, but immediately surrounded by vessels that, according to all their data, shouldn't exist. But they're still arguing about whether their 9th planet is actually a planet. The Vrax observation team leader had stammered when questioned by Council security about how they'd been discovered. The Council's response to humanity's unexpected technological leap was, naturally, to follow Standard Protocol 47B, the management of unexpectedly advanced primitive species. This protocol, written some 8,000 cycles ago by a particularly bureaucratic member of an extinct species, called for an immediate show of overwhelming force followed by a demand for surrender and integration into the Galactic Concordat. The delivery of the surrender demand was considered a mere formality. After all, no species had ever refused. The Council's combined fleet, representatives of 36 spacefaring civilizations, emerged from quantum space in perfect formation above Earth's atmosphere. The display was meant to shock and awe. Instead, they detected popcorn being made in several major cities. The Council's demand, transmitted in all known frequencies and languages, was a masterpiece of condescending, diplomatic tradition. Greetings, primitive yet surprisingly spacefaring-capable species of Sol 3. Your recent detection of our observation posts indicates you have achieved a level of advancement requiring proper management and integration. The Galactic Concordat hereby demands your immediate surrender and submission to our governing protocols. Resistance is not recommended, as it would violate Standard Protocol 47b, subsection 12, paragraph 7, regarding proper behavior of newly discovered species. Upon surrender, you will be granted Class 4 civilization status, pending proper paperwork and processing fees, limited travel rights within designated sectors, and access to the Galactic Concordat's self-help guide for emerging species, digital copy available for purchase at standard rates. You have one local solar rotation to comply. The response from Earth's Unified Defense Council was delivered exactly 23 hours and 59 minutes later. It came in the form of a video transmission that would be forever archived in Council records as Incident Report 47B1, the hot dog response. In it, Earth's defense coordinator appeared seated at what seemed to be a casual dining establishment, consuming what the Council's xenobiologists would later identify as processed meat in a bread casing. In the background, an ancient human musical composition called Never Gonna Give You Up played at what analysts determined to be precisely calculated intervals to disrupt the Council's standard translation frequencies. The defense coordinator paused between bites only to say, "Thanks for the heads up about Protocol 47B. We've taken the liberty of drafting our own. Protocol Nope. Notably, overconfident, peaceful entities will be in touch." What the Council didn't know was that humanity had been preparing for first contact for over a century. They had detected the first signs of galactic civilization long before the Vracs thought they had successfully cloaked their observation post. Earth's apparent political divisions and technological debates were a carefully crafted facade, maintained by a unified species that had learned the value of keeping their cards close to their chest. While the Council's fleet hovered in formation, waiting for the surrender that their protocols assured them would come, humanity was already moving. Quantum-shielded shipyards in pocket dimensions hummed with activity. Defense platforms disguised as orbital debris powered up their cores, and in secure facilities across Earth and its hidden colonies, officers calmly removed dust covers from consoles labeled Xenonautical Defense Force. The Council had followed their protocols perfectly. Humanity, on the other hand, had been writing their own playbook. Standard Protocol 47B had very specific guidelines about dealing with non-compliant species. Unfortunately for the Council, these guidelines had been written by bureaucrats who had never actually encountered a species that responded to their surrender demand with what the humans called a meme. High Councillor Zyxar, following the protocol to the letter, ordered a demonstration of force. The Council's fleet targeted Earth's largest satellite, a primitive construct that barely qualified as a space station according to Concordat standards, and prepared to vaporize it with a synchronized plasma burst from 30 different ships. The Council's targeting computers designated the station as Lunar Base 1. The humans called it the Bait. The synchronized plasma burst never happened. Instead, 28 of the 30 ships designated for the attack suddenly found their weapon systems completely offline. The other 2 ships fired as planned, but their plasma bursts curved away from the station, redirected by technology that, according to the Council's database, humanity shouldn't discover for at least another 1,000 cycles. Did they just... Representative Cuthrie's translator struggled to convey her disbelief. Hack our quantum-encrypted systems. Impossible, declared Zyxar, his tentacles writhing in patterns that indicated both denial and increasing alarm. Their most advanced computers still use silicon processors. That's when the station they'd attempted to destroy began to move. Not a small adjustment, but a complete shift in position that defied every known law of momentum conservation. The primitive construction scaffolding fell away, revealing a sleek battle station that had been hiding in plain sight. Across Earth's orbit, similar transformations were taking place. Debris fields rearranged themselves into defense platforms. Defunct satellites sprouted energy weapons. What had appeared to be a crude ring of space junk resolved itself into an interlocking network of quantum barrier generators. Their entire orbital defense network, the Vrax representative chimed in, frequencies approaching panic. It's all been camouflaged. The Council's fleet commanders, faced with a situation not covered by any protocol, did what most beings do when their superiority complex is suddenly challenged. They panicked and opened fire. The resulting battle would later be described in military academies across the galaxy as the 23-second massacre. Though massacre might have been an overstatement, since no ships were actually destroyed, they were, however, thoroughly humiliated. Human ships seemed to phase in and out of reality, using technology that somehow combined quantum tunneling with what appeared to be intentional software glitches. Later analysis would reveal that humanity had basically weaponized computer bugs, turning the most annoying aspects of early computing into a military advantage. The Council's fleet found their weapons firing backwards, their engines running on what their computers insisted was pure sarcasm, and their quantum communication systems playing something called "Never Gonna Give You Up" on endless repeat. Several ships reported that their artificial gravity had been reversed, but only in their bathroom facilities. The coup de grace came when humanity deployed what they called the Control-Alt-Delete protocol. Every single Council ship simultaneously experienced what could only be described as a blue screen of death in space. The entire fleet hung motionless, displaying error messages in every known language, including several that hadn't been invented yet. From the bridge of the human flagship Pseudo-RMRF, Admiral Chen watched the display with the calm demeanor of someone who had been rehearsing this moment for decades. "Send the courtesy notification," he ordered. The message that went out to the disabled Council fleet was brief. "Your IT department has detected several critical system errors. Please remain calm while we apply necessary security patches. Estimated download time, however long it takes you to reconsider Protocol 47B. In the Council chamber, where the fleet's defeat was being broadcast in real time, Zyxar's chromatophores had shifted to a shade of purple, previously unknown to xenobiologists. "They're not even taking this seriously," he raged. "This is a violation of every combat protocol in the Concordat." Actually, Representative Enixteek's quantum processors hummed thoughtfully. "According to my analysis, they're following Protocol 47B exactly as written, just from the other side. The protocol calls for a show of overwhelming force followed by demands for surrender. They're simply better at it than we are." That's when the second message arrived from Earth, this time addressed specifically to the Council. It contained only 2 items, a formal invocation of Protocol Nope and an expense report for pest removal services that included charges for quantum pest control and removal of unwanted space debris, your fleet. The invoice was marked past due before it even arrived. The next few solar cycles brought a complete restructuring of galactic power dynamics, though restructuring was as much of an understatement as calling a supernova a bright light. The Council's perfectly organized galaxy was experiencing something entirely new, chaos with a methodology. Humanity's approach to warfare proved to be as incomprehensible as their diplomatic responses. The Galactic Concordat's military analysts found themselves trying to explain combat strategies that seemed to have been derived from what humans called internet trolling combined with tech support nightmares. The Serpentine Collective was the first to fall, their highly advanced neural network infrastructure proving surprisingly vulnerable to something humans called cat videos. Their entire defense grid crashed when human hackers flooded their systems with what they classified as weapons-grade cuteness. "They're using psychological warfare," Guthrie had shrieked during an emergency council session. "Our warriors spent 6 hours watching small furry creatures knock objects off elevated surfaces. Our production efficiency dropped by 80%. The Vrax Empire's crystalline communication networks were next. Humanity introduced a virus that made every transmission include what they called dad jokes. The proud crystalline beings found their strategic communications buried under an avalanche of why don't eggs tell jokes they'd crack up. The Empire fractured within days, literally, as several Vrax shattered from groaning too hard. But it was humanity's tech support warfare that truly showcased their diabolical genius. Human ships would appear in enemy systems broadcasting messages like, "We've been trying to reach you about your fleet's extended warranty," or "Your quantum drive has detected a virus, please hold for technical support." The Betelgeuse hive mind, proud warriors who had never lost a battle in 6,000 cycles, surrendered after their entire defense network was put on hold for 3 days, forced to listen to human elevator music while being assured that their call was important. "They're not even fighting fair," Zyxar complained during yet another emergency council session. His tentacles had been stress-shedding, leaving little sucker marks all over the ancient protocols he clutched like a security blanket. "They're supposed to use proper military channels, not whatever this is." The Council's military doctrine, refined over millennia, had no defense against humans using "have you tried turning it off and on again?" as a battle cry. Traditional warfare strategies proved useless against an enemy whose battle computers ran on slightly organized chaos and controlled system crashes. Humanity's ships themselves defied conventional military logic. They named their most powerful dreadnoughts after computer commands. Vessels like the HTTP 404 inches specialized in making enemy ships literally unfindable by their own fleet, while the blue screen of death could crash entire planetary defense systems by simply appearing in orbit. The gas giant consciousness of Jupiter's children experienced what they called an existential buffer overflow when human ships started responding to their threats with "Error 418, I'm a teapot." Their methane-based philosophers are still trying to process the implications. Even the silicon synthesis, with their quantum computational superiority, found themselves outmaneuvered by human tactics. "They're using our own logic against us," Galactic reported, her processors whirring in distress. "They introduced something called recursive bureaucracy into our decision-making algorithms. We spent 3 cycles filing permits to request permission to file more permits. But perhaps the most devastating weapon in humanity's arsenal was something they called customer service automation. Human ships would surround enemy fleets and force them to navigate automated response systems. For surrender options, press 1. For combat, press 2. For complaints about human warfare practices, please stay on the line to file the appropriate forms in triplicate. Your estimated wait time is infinity. The Council's carefully maintained order crumbled in the face of humanity's digital onslaught. Species that had proudly maintained their independence for thousands of cycles found themselves quietly submitting surrender requests, carefully formatted according to Protocol Nope, HFY specifications of course, rather than face another round of automated technical support. Even the legendary quantum armada of the Helix Confederation, whose ships could exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, met their match when humanity introduced them to interdimensional spam calls. Their surrender message read simply, "We would like to unsubscribe from human facts. Please stop calling us about our quantum drive's warranty." In the council chamber, now noticeably emptier as more representatives had to rush home to deal with various human-induced crises, Zyxar finally asked the question that had been burning in everyone's minds. How did they develop all these tactics without us noticing? Representative Enixatic's response would later be archived as the greatest understatement in council history. "It appears, High Counselor, that while we were judging their civilization by their space technology, we should have been paying attention to their help desk tickets. The humans had taken every frustrating aspect of their own technological development, every crashed computer, every endless customer service call, every software update gone wrong, and weaponized it. They hadn't just prepared for war, they had turned their entire technological history into an arsenal. And somewhere in Earth's Unified Defense Command, Admiral Chen was probably still enjoying a hot dog while watching the galaxy learn a vital lesson. Never underestimate a species that had to master the art of turning it off and on again." The final collapse of the Galactic Concordance Authority didn't come with a bang, but with a notification sound. Specifically the sound of 36 different species all receiving calendar invites to their own surrender ceremonies. High Counselor Zyxar, whose tentacles had by now developed a permanent nervous twitch, called for the 427th emergency session that month. The council chamber, once a pinnacle of galactic civilization, now resembled what humans would call a Monday morning office meeting where everyone knows layoffs are coming. "Order!" Zyxar's translated voice cracked with desperation. "We must maintain order according to Protocol 39C, regarding proper conduct during civilization-ending events." Which version of Protocol 39C? Asked a junior representative of the silicon synthesis. The original, or the one humans rewrote to include mandatory coffee breaks and casual Fridays? The chamber erupted into chaos. The gas giant consciousness was stress-burping methane bubbles that spelled out help in 17 different languages. The remaining Vrax representative had developed stress fractures in their crystalline structure that played what sounded suspiciously like human elevator music. Humanity's psychological warfare had evolved beyond mere technical support torture. They had begun sending motivational posters to enemy fleets. The proudest warrior races in the galaxy found themselves contemplating images of cats hanging from branches with captions like, "Hang in there, surrender is just a form away." The Beetalox hive mind had completely fragmented after receiving a chainmail that read, "Forward this surrender request to 10 other empires or face 1,000 years of technical difficulties." They didn't even wait to verify if it was an official human military communication. Internal conflicts erupted as species blamed each other for their collective predicament. The Serpentine Collective accused the Vrax of having suspicious search history after finding their database filled with cat video bookmarks. The Helix Confederation was caught trying to secretly negotiate a separate peace by offering to beta test human software. "We must stand united," Zyxar pleaded, waving a tentacle at the ancient charter of the Concordat. "We have traditions, we have protocols, we have—" "A meeting request from Earth," interrupted Representative Nix Teak, her processors humming with what might have been amusement. "They're offering a workshop on how to survive first contact when you're the primitive ones." Several representatives immediately tried to sign up, only to be met with, "This event is currently full. Would you like to join the wait list?" The Council's attempts to maintain control became increasingly desperate. They tried to impose new protocols, only to find that humanity had already filed patents on them. They attempted to establish secure communication channels, only to receive automated responses about updating their privacy settings. The final straw came when humans introduced what they called reply-all warfare. One seemingly innocent message about updating the Council's contact list led to a chain of responses that crashed the Concordat's entire bureaucratic system. Species that had coexisted peacefully for millennia began arguing about proper email etiquette. "Please remove me from this thread" became the most common diplomatic communication. In a last-ditch effort to maintain authority, Zyxar attempted to invoke Emergency Protocol Omega, the reset button of galactic civilization. The resulting automated response from Earth's defense systems would be immortalized in history. "We noticed you're trying to reset galactic civilization. Would you like help with that?" "Yes, please guide me through the surrender process." "No, I'd like to continue experiencing technical difficulties. Ask me again in 5 minutes." The message was followed by a loading bar that somehow went backwards. As the council chamber descended into what humans would recognize as a reply-all apocalypse, Representative Nixtik calmly began filling out her species surrender form. Her final report to the silicon synthesis contained only one recommendation. Next time, read the terms and conditions before demanding surrender from a species that turned technical support into a weapon of mass frustration. One standard galactic year after what became known as the Great Help Desk War, the former council chamber had been renovated into what humans called an open-plan office space. The crystalline walls now displayed a constant stream of cat videos, which the humans claimed was proven to increase workplace satisfaction by at least 47%. Former High Councillor Zyxar, along with the other surviving council members, faced what the humans called performance reviews. The proceedings took place in a room that somehow managed to be simultaneously too hot and too cold, with chairs designed by someone who clearly had never encountered organic life forms. "Let's discuss your leadership style," said the human resources representative, shuffling through a stack of papers that definitely could have been emails. "According to your self-assessment, you rated yourself as exceptionally competent at fostering interspecies cooperation. However, our peer reviews suggest more of a needs improvement in the area of not demanding surrender from species capable of weaponizing software updates." Zyxar's tentacles drooped in what had become a permanent state of bureaucratic defeat. His translator didn't even bother converting his response into words, just outputting a sound remarkably similar to the Windows XP shutdown noise, the new Galactic government, which humans had dubbed Tech Support Plus, with the tagline, "Have you tried turning your empire off and on again?" operated on principles that baffled traditional power structures. Instead of protocols, they had best practices. Instead of surrender demands, they sent meeting invites. The yearly Galactic budget was determined by a process that involved something called ordering pizza and staying late at the office. Humanity's rise to galactic power came not through military might or political maneuvering, but through what they termed mandatory team-building exercises. Species that had been mortal enemies for millennia found themselves participating in trust falls and escape room challenges. The former Vrax Empire, now rebranded as Crystal Clear Communications LLC, had become the galaxy's leading producer of motivational posters. Their most popular series featured images of their own crystalline forms with captions like, "Shine under pressure and clarity comes from within. Terms and conditions apply." The Serpentine Collective, after extensive sensitivity training, transformed their warrior caste into customer experience specialists. Their battle cry of "Death to the enemy" was replaced with "Your satisfaction is our primary concern. Please hold for the next available representative." Even the mighty Beetalox hive mind found a new purpose as the galaxy's most efficient tech support system, capable of simultaneously telling millions of beings to turn their devices off and on again. Their only condition was a strict no-hold music policy, the psychological scars of their defeat still fresh. Admiral Chen, now serving as Chief Happiness Officer of the known galaxy, instituted a radical new approach to maintaining peace, mandatory lunch breaks and casual Fridays. "It's hard to plot galactic domination," he explained, "when you're trying to decide what constitutes business casual for a methane-based life form." The former council chamber's quantum-encrypted security systems were replaced with a simple sign reading, "Please don't be evil. Violators will be subscribed to our newsletter." Surprisingly, it proved more effective than any previous security measure. Representative Inkstik, whose accurate prediction of human capabilities had earned her a promotion to Director of Saying I Told You So Affairs, compiled a comprehensive report on the new galactic order. Her conclusion was simply a link to something called a mic drop GIF. As for the various protocols that had governed galactic civilization for millennia, they were archived in a folder labeled Legacy Systems, Keep for Comedy. Protocol 47B was framed and hung in the lobby of the new galactic headquarters, beneath a sign reading, "Employee of the Month, Best Example of What Not to Do." The galaxy had entered a new era, one where the most feared weapon wasn't a planet destroyer or a quantum lance, but an automated email response saying, "Your ticket has been received and will be processed in the order it was submitted. Expected response time, yes." And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, a newly discovered primitive civilization received their first contact package from Earth. A hot dog recipe and a note saying, "Trust us, this will make sense later." In the Galactic Historical Archives, formerly known as the Hall of Supreme Council Wisdom, and now affectionately called the Blog of Learning Experiences, there's a mandatory orientation video for all newly discovered civilizations. It's titled, "So You Think You're Ready for Galactic Politics, a Cautionary Tale." The video begins with a hot dog floating in space. "Welcome to Galactic Civilization 101, says the cheerful narrator, while in the background, the Vrax representative can be seen giving a PowerPoint presentation on how not to first contact. Today's lesson, why protocol isn't always your friend, featuring the species that turned IT support into an art of war. The historical footage shows the former council chamber, now with beanbag chairs and snack machines, where once mighty empires learned the hard way that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology, it was their experience with technical difficulties. In the early days, the narrator continues while security footage plays of Zyxar trying to navigate an automated phone menu, some thought humans were simply lucky. They weren't. They were prepared. Not with weapons, not with ships, but with centuries of experience in dealing with the most terrifying force in the universe, customer service. New species watching the orientation often ask the same question. But surely they eventually used their power for conquest. The answer comes in the form of another video clip showing Admiral Chen's famous speech at the reformation of galactic government. Look, we could conquer you all, we could force you to submit to our will, but honestly, that sounds like way too much paperwork. Instead, we're going to introduce you to something far more powerful: office culture. The following footage shows various alien species participating in casual Friday events, mandatory fun days, and the dreaded annual performance reviews. The Beetleox hive mind's attempt at a corporate retreat remains one of the most viewed historical documents in the archive. But the true irony of the situation, the thing that makes new species' sensory organs widen in disbelief, is the revelation that humans had actually made the galaxy more peaceful by making it more bureaucratic. In the end, the narrator explains, while footage plays of various species attending a workshop on synergizing your quantum potential, nobody had time for war anymore. They were too busy filing reports about their reports, attending meetings about future meetings, and trying to figure out if their species qualified for dental coverage. The final segment of the orientation shows the current state of galactic civilization, a thriving, interconnected network of species, united not by force or fear, but by shared experiences of trying to navigate humanity's organizational systems. The Serpentine Collective now runs the galaxy's most successful chain of coffee shops, Star Battles, where former warriors craft complex beverage orders with the same precision they once used to plot military strategies. The gas giant consciousness found its true calling in corporate communications, their natural ability to produce hot air making them perfect for writing mission statements. And the Silicon Synthesis discovered they had a talent for human-style humor, though their jokes typically involved binary code and only other AI found them funny. The orientation ends with a simple message: "Welcome to the galaxy. Your help ticket has been submitted. Please allow 5 business cycles for processing. In the meantime, would you like to hear about our extended warranty program?" As new species finish the orientation, they're handed a welcome package containing 3 items: a copy of Protocol Nope for Dummies, a hot dog voucher, and a sign reading, "Keep calm and submit a ticket." And somewhere in what used to be the Council's main archive, there's a small plaque with a quote from Representative Enixatik's final report. In the end, humanity didn't need to destroy galactic civilization. They just needed to make it attend a mandatory training session about destroying galactic civilization.